It's a pleasure to be here. As Chris said, I'm Bob Schukai. I'm the head of advanced product innovation at Thomson Reuters. I've been with the company a little over 5 years, and I work in our corporate technology function. Thomson Reuters is a company that I think people know quite a bit about from the Reuters news agency that's been around for a very, very long time, initially delivering the news via carrier pigeons, if you can believe that, to today having journalists spanning across the world. The corporation itself provides information to sectors such as finance, legal, tax and accounting, and the IP and science space. And while, as our previous speaker mentioned, GIS isn't core to Thomson Reuters, but it's a very important technology that we use as one of our big data sources to serve these industries. And today what I wanted to do was take a discussion around how geospatial is important to us and look at a big initiative, a big thematic initiative that is affecting the world, and that's this. 9 billion people in the year 2050. Today we've got 7 billion people on the planet today. Of those, 800 million will go to bed hungry tonight. 2 billion, 28% of the world's population suffer from micronutrient deficiencies, meaning that they don't get enough to eat every single day. And if you think this is a problem that just affects scenes like the favelas that you see up here, it's here in our own backyard. In 2013, 49 million Americans lived the exact same way. And in fact, 14% in 2013 of all households suffered from a lack of food. Now, by the year 2050, we're projected to have 9 billion people on this planet. 80% of the world's land that's arable is already being farmed. And so the fundamental question that Thomson Reuters is asking ourselves and asking all of you is this: how on earth are we going to feed 9 billion people in just a short period of time? And so the way that we've always thought about this as a company is that you've got to come at it with three perspectives. One, the creative thinkers, the people that are going to come with the out-of-box solutions to think about this challenge in a very big way. Big data. And we know big data is one of those terms that's overused over and over and over. But we know that by the power of mining data, we can spot trends. We can see things that are happening. And whether you believe that the planet is going through global warming or not, certainly the impact of climate change is out there, and it's taking place today. You've also got new technologies. And I'd say GIS is a somewhat new technology, relatively speaking, but it's not necessarily that old. It's been around 40 years, and in fact, I was telling one of my colleagues an entertaining story that we won't do because we're being filmed, but an interesting story about how well I knew from my previous government work days of satellites flying overhead and the imagery that they produce. So today, what we're going to be talking about a little bit is this intersection between weather data and the maps of commodity supply and demand, and how we map agricultural land rights on top of all this, because it's all really, really important. And then when you combine that with the power of the mobile phone and crowdsourcing information, there's a lot that we can do here. So when we look at this problem of feeding 9 billion people, it really is that intersection of big data and new technologies where my interest comes. And when you take a look at this chart up here, it's an absolutely fascinating chart showing the state of Illinois in two separate years, 2009 and 2012. And what you actually see up here is a difference in vegetation cover as the year progressed. And in 2009, you have that rich, dark green that showed in the state of Illinois things were progressing exceptionally well from a crop perspective. In 2012, however, you see that light green, and you see the problems that were being faced. And one of the things that we were able to do at Thomson Reuters was predict early on that in 2012 there was going to be a wall that was going to be hit, and that there was going to be a significant impact to the crops being produced in Illinois. So for agriculture companies, for people that bought equipment, the John Deeres of the world, people like that, we were able to give them an early forecast of the sorts of problems they were going to be able to see simply from this geospatial data and the shock to the bottom line. And so they could back off on equipment purchases and not quite have the impact to the bottom line that they might have otherwise. Now, this is just one set of data that we have. You can see up here at present this image showing global sea temperatures. That we know will have an impact on weather. We also have the sorts of technology that lets us track ships and their progress all about the world. And so when you combine all these different data sets, the satellite imagery, the sea temperatures, shipping data, all of this comes in to create the types of insight that we can glean to help project how that's going to impact both food production and food distribution. Now, this is actually a really, really interesting piece of the puzzle. When you look at the world today, UN Habitat estimates that 70% of lands in the developed world have not been mapped, documented, or had their lands rights recorded. 70%. So if you're currently a farmer or a landowner out there today, what's going to be your motivation to want to improve that land you're working upon, to want to farm in a more eco-friendly manner, when you don't know if you've even got the land rights sitting in your pocket to be able to proceed forward? Would you invest in improving that land if you feared you would lose that land? And that's a real fundamental question that we're trying to solve out there today with the types of products we have. And so we look at this as sort of a three-step method that we can go to tackle this problem. Obviously, we have satellite technologies that are out there that give us that big picture. But we can also use drones, and this is where the Land Alliance, an NGO with Thomson Reuters, has been partnering to use drones to do land registry in a more effective way that helps us, from a low-cost perspective, reduce the need for intensive survey techniques. Those survey techniques that require on-the-ground people to actually map this stuff out. You get those quick delineations of where the parcel boundaries lie. You can participate in community meetings and then ultimately, as you see up here, actually create a digital package of land folio maps that can be distributed to the local authorities so they can administer these land rights appropriately. Now we get to the last piece, which is farming our data itself. And this to me is perhaps the most interesting bit, because with that power of the mobile phone and taking this down to the lowest level, sure, we can get amazing satellite imagery that shows the greenery. Sure, we can have drones fly over that land and see how the crops are performing. But those drones aren't going to tell us if that greenery has been infested with bugs, if there's problems on the ground itself. And that's where the power of the mobile phone, the power of crowdsourcing that information, gives us the ability to look at parcel by parcel location in terms of how crops are performing, how we can generate a better product. And when you couple this with remote sensing and some of the interesting things taking place with companies like What 3 Words that are mapping our planet down to 3 meter by 3 meter square increments, you've really got the power to hone in on that micro area to determine exactly how we can better achieve food security across the planet. And this is all exceptionally important for the developing markets. So with that, I'd like to leave you with this. We've just produced a report, 9billionbowls.com, and in 10 minutes, there's only so much that you can talk about related to food security, but I would invite you to download this interactive report, to delve more into the problem that we're going to be facing and the challenge that's out there. But we think we can improve economic prosperity by harnessing the power of big data and these new technologies to create a better tomorrow through securing land rights and actually using the technology to generate a better way of producing more effective crops for farmers around the world. And that's what Thomson Reuters is all about, improving the governance and addressing these sorts of threats that affect us all about the planet, whether they be food security, cyber terrorism, law enforcement issues, land management rights. We can take care of that with the technologies and the big data solutions out there. Thank you very much for your time.